Why do autistic people seem to have such particular eating habits? Well, on this video, I'm going to explore the topic of eating and autism. Let's go. Hey, my friend, welcome. I'm Orion Kelly, that autistic guy, and I'm all about helping you increase your level of understanding, acceptance, and appreciation of the autistic community. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, I'd be delighted if you'd subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just by clicking that subscribe button, you're joining this amazing community. How do autistic brains influence our eating habits in ways that make people label them strange or fussy or picky? Simply put, part of being autistic is experiencing sensory challenges, right? And I reckon it's pretty clear to say that touch, taste, feel, smell, sight of food is pretty important when it comes to eating. As an autistic person, I can experience some hypersensitivity to certain sensory inputs, and eating is no different. Now, this might sound strange to some people, but it's true, I promise you, and it's not only my experience, but just observing and raising an autistic child, that eating for autistic people can be stressful and it's sometimes distressing. And that hypersensitivity to the senses is a contributing factor to that stress, to that distress. Now, in this video, I'm talking in general terms and purely from my own lived experiences as an autistic guy with an autistic son. However, some autistic people can also have an additional diagnosis of avoidant, restrictive food intake disorder, or ARFID. And that's something you may wish to explore with your medical practitioner, but not something I'll be exploring in this video. Let's explore the why. Why can the seemingly simple act of eating become so stressful or distressing for an autistic person? Autistic people can have a hypersensitivity to senses and sensory input. It's part of the diagnostic criteria. So let's follow that through into eating. Let's build on this, expand on this. Let's start with touch, feel. We talk about this with regards to kids in school uniforms, the way the uniform feels on their skin. Okay, so we know this can lead to overload, which can lead to meltdowns and shutdowns, which can lead to burnout, which... For me, the way food feels to touch prior to even putting it in your mouth can trigger a sensory overload. I mean, I haven't even got to the mouth yet. My kryptonite is soft and squishy foods. They set me off. Example, I love bananas. But I hate touching them with my fingers. This shit is bananas. B-A-N-A-N-A-S. I love yogurt, but I hate when it gets on me. And the smell. I think that was more repulsive, my facial expressions, than the yolk. Just move on, cut that bit out. I love chocolate. You know what I'm saying? Oh yeah. But I hate when it melts. I hate when chocolate melts and gets on your hands and your fingers. That's disgusting. And can I tell you, let's be clear, I ain't licking that. I don't lick my fingers. That's disgusting. It's very uncivilized. What am I, an animal? All right, so clearly my own personal autistic lived experience, I prefer a harder, crunchier, more robust consistency to my food. Now, if you're a parent or a carer of an autistic kid, maybe you're autistic yourself, this could explain why the autistic person in your life, even though they like fruit, may avoid eating fruit as a snack. Does that resonate? The autistic person or child or partner in your life seems to avoid fruit as a snack. They love fruit, but they avoid fruit as a snack, and they tend to just focus on pre-packaged snacks. Does that resonate? It definitely does for me. And it's not that you don't like the fruit, but the pre-packaged snacks have a better feel, a better consistency to them, right? I'd also argue those types of pre-packaged snacks also feel better in and out of the mouth. And even more importantly for this particular preference is they're by design consistent. You can rely on pre-packaged snacks as a rule to be pretty consistent in their taste and touch and feel and look, and right? Conversely, bananas, you're taking your life into your own hands with bananas. Those squishy, delicious devil fruits. Let's move on to smell and taste. Okay, so the hypersensitivity to the senses, to sensory input, smell and taste, clearly a big part of eating. In fact, I'd say for me, smelling food is eating food. Like a chef that tries stuff while he's cooking it to make sure it's going to be good enough to give, to serve. It doesn't matter what the food or meal is. If its smell triggers sensory overload in me, the chances of me even trying to eat it are slim at best, which is what I am when I don't eat. All right, back to my frenemy, the banana. I think the banana has many smells. There's the unripe, greeny, waxy smell that shouldn't be eaten by anyone ever, except maybe like a fitness guru with too much time on their hands. There's the overripe, yellowy black, strong aroma of sugar in retirement banana that shouldn't be eaten by anyone ever, except of course like fitness haters with no time on their hands. And then there's the elusive, full blue moon smell of a banana teetering on the edge of unripe and ripe. Think about it. From an autistic point of view, fruit provides no guarantees. No guarantees apart from the fact that it is that fruit. That's not good. I can't work with that. It's like going to the shops and buying a pack of biscuits that are plain packaged with no markings or branding on them. So you know they're biscuits, like bananas. You just don't know what type of biscuits they are or how they'll taste. I'm not buying those biscuits. As an autistic person, I can rely, for the most part, on pre-packaged snacks to be completely consistent, to look and feel and taste and smell the same every time. Meaning if it's a type of snack or food that doesn't set me off, then I can rely on that particular snack when I'm hungry or need a snack without having to stress about what could happen, how it could make me feel. Now that's a guarantee I can work with. And like I said, on the other hand, never knowing if a food will taste good or feel right is clearly overwhelming. It's stressful and it can absolutely lead to overloads, meltdowns, shutdowns. Okay, so we've talked about the touch, the feel, which is different. I'm saying when you're holding food to how it feels in your mouth. We've talked about how that can impact an autistic person's eating habits. We've also talked about smell, which is just crazy important. Sometimes I think I've been given superhero smells and not in a good way. So I never get on my wife, what's that lovely smell? It's always, oh, can you smell that? What is that? But now let's move on. Now let's move on to sight, to seeing food. Again, all autistic people are different. I'm not for a second suggesting all autistic people even have the ability to feel, touch, taste, see, hear like I can. I'm just talking in general terms from my own lived experiences. The sight of food, looking at food, has always been really important for me. In fact, I'd say it's a deal breaker. Looking at a meal or a food can be a deal breaker for me without any idea of how it actually tastes or feels. Just looking at it and going, nah. Oh, what's this? Nah. Hey, Orion, you're gonna love this. Nah. I am super judgmental of food. That's fair to say. What isn't fair to say is in a superficial way. When I look at food, I'm viewing food, even if it's subconsciously, through the lens of my autistic brain and through the lens of what could be a potential sensory overload. I'm basically scanning the food for triggers. Examples, I might look at a meal and go, whoa, those veggies look squishy. I didn't say those veggies don't look pretty. Those veggies look squishy. Why did you cook the veggies within an inch of their life? They're virtual water now. What have you... That melted cheese is too melted, dude. Too melted? What do you mean too melted? The cheese, you can melt it or you can too melt it. Right? It's burned. It tastes too melted. This toast is not toasted enough. Huh? This toast is not, toast. It's broast. I don't know what to say. It's like, it's still a bit soft and squishy. Not good. I don't want toast that is still a little bit breadish, a little bit soft and I want toast. That feeling of like soft and squishy toast in my mouth. Oh, that's more repulsive than what I just said again. I apologize. This is a more complex example, but it's worth saying. It may resonate. So if I spot ingredients, so as in things I know I don't like because of triggers, if I spot those ingredients being used in a meal that I have never had before or a food I've never had before, then automatically that rules me out of having that food or meal. So if there's certain things that I know will set me off and they're just one of many ingredients in a dish, a meal, a food I've never tried before, which could be the best thing ever, it's a simple no to me. It's a no from me today. Now, this hard no, without giving it a chance, has blown up in my face. I'm going to give you a few examples. Christmas pudding may be one of the biggest regrets of my life. I may never fully recover from the sheer regret I have of my wrong judgment on Christmas pudding. It eats at me, mostly because there's too much dairy in it. Okay, so on the surface, Christmas pudding looks shriveled and squishy, and it's packed full of the type of dried fruits. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of. I kind of like, they like fake. They taste fake. Anyway, that's Christmas pudding, right? Or at least how we make it here in Oz. Now, after some encouragement from my wife and my mother-in-law, so my wife's mum, I finally said, you know what, stuff it. I'm going to try some of your famous Christmas pudding. This is a famous family recipe handed down through generations. Nevertheless, I gave it a crack. Upon having a few spoonfuls, I immediately asked for more. In fact, I said, how much more do you have in stock? Because I'm going to need some on a regular basis. I seriously couldn't believe I had deprived myself of something so bloody good for so long. And it wasn't a superficial thing. It was the sensory overload judgment. No, that's going to be too squishy and soft in my mouth. It looks all, and it's got those dried fruit things that I always find yuck and fake and too sweet and, right? But then trying it, oh man. I seriously could eat Christmas pudding all year round. In fact, these days I get my wife to make like 2 of them. I want one in storage, my friend. In saying that though, my gut doesn't always agree. Yeah, I kind of need to book out the toilet for a few hours after having Christmas pudding. That's dairy for you, huh? So what advice would I give if you're an autistic person or there's an autistic person in your life when it comes to eating and autism? Well, as always, the best advice I can give is to simply try to understand and appreciate why the autistic person in your life has the particular eating habits they have. Also understand and acknowledge it's actually not by choice. You are born autistic. You don't catch it or buy it in the shops. You don't choose to have the particular eating habits or the particular eating preferences you have as an autistic person. It's all connected. Stop labeling autistic people as fussy or picky eaters with strange habits, weird particular habits. Another label I hear from time to time is boring. Your food choices are so boring. Well, what's with the same, you eat the same and well, boring. That's right. I got out of bed this morning and thought, you know what I want to do today? I want to be bored. That's why I'm hanging out with you. As autistic people, we experience food differently to neurotypical people. Just like all people, whether they're neurotypical, not neurotypical, autistic, not autistic, all experience food differently. We could just go with that. Key takeaway, it's not a choice. We're not fussy or picky or boring or strange or odd. Our eating habits are our eating habits based on being autistic and the influence of an autistic brain dealing with hypersensitivities to the senses of eating. Is it just me or has this video made you hungry? I don't know why. All I can think about is bananas. Either way, I hope this video was helpful. And if it was, I'd be grateful if you'd share it with your family and friends so we can reach more people. Until my next video, thank you so much for your support and we'll talk soon.